Hi guys, I'm April. Welcome back to my channel. And for today's video, mag-focus tayo sa pinaka-importanting table in chemistry, which is the periodic table of the elements. So I decided to make this video into two parts because of two reasons. Una, gusto ko medyo maging detailed yung approach natin dito because I really think this topic is very crucial but often neglected. Madalas nahahapiyawan lang siya. Tendency, medyo magiging mahaba yung lecture na to. And then second, medyo mahirap siya i-conceptualize into one video. For the first video, mag-focus tayo sa general overview ng periodic table, kung paano nakaklasify yung elements into periods and groups. So for the second video naman, i-highlight natin yung pinaka-important properties in each group as well as a comparison between metals and non-metals. So without further ado, let's get on to the video. So the periodic table is a chart that represents all the elements that constitute everything. Literally everything in our universe. So basically, lahat ng nakikita nyo and even yung mga hindi nyo nakikita is actually made up of at least one of these elements. As of today, there are known 118 elements and 94 of which are naturally occurring, meaning we can extract these elements from different sources in our environment, like gold, silver, copper, etc. And the rest are synthetic elements. Tinatawag natin siyang synthetic kasi hindi talaga natin siya nakikita in nature. Instead, these are made by chemists and physicists inside the laboratory. Out of these elements, usually ma-encounter you si carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, because these elements actually comprises 96% of most living organisms. Even tayo, the elements in our body is actually composed of 65% oxygen, 18% carbon, 10% hydrogen, and the rest are other essential elements like calcium, which is important for our bones, fluorine, which is important for our teeth, sodium, chloride, potassium, and lahat ng to may iba't ibang function sa body natin. These elements combine, react, and interact together in infinite possible ways to produce different compounds. Itong mga compound na to is actually very important for our everyday life. When you look at the basic periodic table, each element will look like this. Kung saan meron tayong atomic number, element symbol, element name, and the mass number. So focus natin sa atomic number, and the atomic mass number are also known as the atomic weight. So atomic number represents the number of protons inside the nucleus of an atom, and this is very specific to each element. Meaning, yung number na to hindi nagbabago. So for carbon, may 6 siya na protons, so atomic number 6. Pag nagdagdag tayo ng isa pang proton, then the atomic number will be 7, and iba na yung dinidenote ng element, which is now nitrogen. So for the mass number naman, or the atomic weight, parehas natin binibilang yung number of protons and the number of neutrons inside the nucleus. Though the number of protons in an atom doesn't change, yung number of neutrons natin nagbabago, kaya nagkakaroon tayo ng isotopes. So the mass number is the weighted mass of all isotopes. Ano muna yung isotopes na to? As we have mentioned in the previous episode, isotopes are atoms with the same number of protons but different number of neutrons. So when we talk about isotope, usually ganito siya dinidenote, wherein the X stands for the element symbol, A for the mass number, and Z for the atomic number. So for example, you have carbon 12, carbon 13, and carbon 14. So first step is to convert the percent abundance in nature into decimal form. Paano? By simply moving 2 decimal places to the left. So we have for 98.9%, that's 0.989. And then second step is to multiply this value to its mass number. So we have 12 times 0.989, 11.868. Then 13 times 0.001, that's 0.143. For the carbon 14, that's 0.000014. And the final step is to simply add these values and you will get 12.011. So that's how you compute for the mass number. So kung maaalala nyo from our previous episode, sinabi natin that elements are made up of identical atoms. And these atoms are the smallest unit of an element that still retains identity, properties, and characteristics. Recall lang natin yung parts ng atoms. So, an atom is composed of a central nucleus kung saan makikita natin yung positively charged protons and the uncharged neutrons. Surrounding the nucleus, we have an electron cloud kung saan makikita natin yung negatively charged electrons moving freely. Always remember that the number of protons inside an atom is always equal to the number of electrons. Lagi nagbabalance yung positive and negative, kaya sinasabi natin that an atom is electrically neutral. For this episode, i-highlight ko sa diagram na to yung electron cloud natin. So kung mapapansin nyo, the electron cloud has different layers. We call these layers energy level or shells. Yung pinaka-importante sa shells na to is the outermost shell kung saan meron pa rin siyang electron, and we call this valence shell. Sobrang importante ng electrons na nakikita natin sa valence shell kasi ito yung tutulong sa atin na mag-predict sa magiging property ng element na to. It will give us an idea on how this element will react, interact, or combine with other atoms. Going back, pag nag-drawing tayo ng table, it usually looks like this. Kung saan meron tayong horizontal rows and vertical columns. So, ganun din sa periodic table where we have horizontal rows which we call the period. So, we have period 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. On the other hand, we have vertical columns which we call groups. We number them from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 groups. Pero kung mapapansin nyo sa ibang periodic table, we have an old way of naming these groups which is based from its valence electron, wherein gumagamit ng Roman numerals and letters. So for the main group elements, we have 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A, 6A, 7A, and 8A. And for the transition elements, from 1A, 2A, 3B, 4B, 5B, 6B, 7B, and then 26 to 28 is considered 8B, then 1B and 2B. Pero today, ang most widely used is from 1 to 18 because it's more convenient. So ano ba ibig sabihin ng periods and groups na to? So when we say period, it is the number of electron shells in an atom. So for period 1, we have 1 shell. For the period 2, we have 2 shells. For the period 3, we have 3 shells, and so on. And mas madali siyang ma-visualize and maiintindihan sa example. So let's compare hydrogen, carbon, magnesium, and calcium. And from our previous episode, sabi natin, the atomic number represents the number of protons in an atom. So, if it's atomic number 1, how many protons do we have? 1. And sabi natin kanina, kung gaano kadami yung proton, ganun din kadami yung electron. So, we also have 1 electron. And this electron will fill our shells from the closest to the nucleus palabas. Since isa lang naman yung electron natin, ilalagay lang natin siya sa unang shell. So, kung mapapansin yung hydrogen is in period 1 kasi isang shell lang siya. So, let's move on to the second example, which is carbon. Carbon is atomic number 6, meaning we have 6 protons. And if we have 6 protons, how many electrons do we have? Yes, we have 6 electrons. So, kung matatandaan nyo rin from our previous episode, sabi natin, each shell has maximum capacity lang, wherein our first shell can only hold 2 electrons, and the second and third shell can hold up to 8 electrons. So here we have 6 electrons. So first shell, 1, 2 electrons. After filling the first shell, mag-move on tayo sa second shell, wherein we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 electrons. Carbon belongs to period 2 because it has 2 shells. Para hindi nyo kailangan i-drawing parate, you can use this method. So again, first shell, we have 2 electrons, and then for the second shell, ilan na lang matitira? So 6 minus 2, we have 4 electrons. Ilang shell yung na-occupy? We have first shell and second shell, kaya period 2. So let's have another example. We have magnesium. Magnesium is atomic number 12. So if we have atomic number 12, how many protons do we have? 12. So if we have 12 protons, how many electrons do we have? Yes, 12 as well. So for the first shell, how many electrons kaya nating i-fit? We have 1, 2. So let's go ahead and move on to the second shell. Perfect na perfect, no? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, kulang pa tayo ng dalawang electron. So, go ahead and draw the third shell. 11, 12. So, ngayon, ilang shells meron tayo? We have 1, 2, 3. Kaya si magnesium is in period 3. Paano naman kapag hindi natin dinrawing? So, for the first shell, we have 2 electrons. In the second shell, na-fill yung 8 electrons. Ilan na lang matitira? Diba 12? So, 2 plus 8 plus 2. Ilang shells? We have 1, 2, 3. And yes, tama nga, nasa period 3 si magnesium. For the last example, we have calcium, which is atomic number 20. So, gaano karaming protons meron tayo dito? Yes, 20. So, if we have 20 protons, how many electrons do we have? Yes, 20 rin. So, for the first shell, ilang electrons? We have 1, 2. So, na-fill na yung first shell. Move on tayo sa second shell. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Na-fill din. So, move on tayo sa next shell. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And kulang pa rin, kaya magdodraw ako ng another shell. Sorry. 19, 20. So, ilang shells meron tayo? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. And yes, calcium is in period 4. Paano pag hindi natin siya dinrawing? So, for the first shell, we have 2 electrons. For the second shell, hanggang 8 electrons. For the third shell, we have 8 electrons. So, 2 plus 8 plus 8, we have 18. Kulang pa tayo ng dalawang electrons. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 shells, kaya tama po, nasa period 4 si calcium. So, mapapansin nyo, pataas ng pataas yung period, padagdag ng padagdag yung shell. And then we have groups. We usually group similar things together. Katulad na lang sa grocery store. Di ba magkakasama yung toiletries, meron tayong fruit section, vegetable section, we have the meat section, frozen goods, etc. So imagine pag pumunta ka sa grocery store, tapos magkakahalo yung mga yon. Di ba magulo? So ganun din sa periodic table. Elements with the same chemical properties are grouped together. So, paano natin malalaman yung properties ng bawat element? Kung maalala nyo, sinabi ko kanina that valence electron will help us predict the property of an element. Kasi ito yung magdidictate kung paano siya magbibehave, interact, or combine with other atoms. What I'm saying is that elements in the same group has the same valence electron. So, mas maganda kung bibigyan ko kayo ng example. We have hydrogen, which is nasa group 1. Sabi natin, dapat pag same group, ganun din yung magiging valence electron niya. So, under the same group, we have lithium with atomic number 3. So, if we have atomic number 3, we have how many protons? Yes, also 3. And then if we have 3 protons, how many electrons do we have? Yes, we have 3 protons as well. For the first shell, we have 1, 2 electrons, and since na-fill na yung first shell, let's go ahead and fill the second shell. 3. Both of them has 1 electron on its outermost shell, kaya pares sila ng valence electron. So, hindi natin kailangan na i-drawing parate, di ba? So, for hydrogen, that's 1. And then for lithium, for the first shell, na-fill yung 2 electrons. So, for the second shell, we have 1. So again, they have the same amount of valence electrons on their outermost shell. So another example for practice. We have sodium with atomic number 11. So atomic number 11, we have 11 protons. If you have 11 protons, how many electrons do we have? Yes, 11. So for the first shell, we have 1, 2 electrons. For the second shell, we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 electrons. So let's go ahead and draw the last shell. So 10, then 11. So again, we have 1 electron on its outermost shell. Paano pag hindi ko dinowing? So we have 2 electrons on the first shell, and then 8 electrons on the second shell, and then lastly, we have 2 plus 8 plus 1 to get 11. We also have 1 valence electron on its outermost shell. Co-coincide pa rin to sa periods natin. Wherein sodium, meron siyang 1, 2, 3 periods belong on period 3. So for carbon, let's check kung magiging parehas sila ng valence electron si silicon. So silicon is atomic number 14, meaning we have 14 protons. How many electrons do we have? Yes, 14 electrons. So for the first shell, we have 1, 2 electrons. Second shell, we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Third shell, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. So as you can notice, parehas sila ng valence electrons, which is 4. Paano pag hindi natin siya dinowing? We have 2 electrons on the innermost shell, and then 8 electrons on the second shell, and then 2 plus 8, may matitira tayong 4. For carbon, that's 2 and 4. So, mapapansin nyo, both of them has 4 valence electrons, kaya magkasama sila in a group. For our last example, we have magnesium and calcium. So, mapapansin nyo, magkaiba sila ng periods, pero they belong on the same group. For magnesium, we have atomic number 12. We have 12 protons. That's why we also have 12 electrons. Wherein we have 2 electrons on the innermost, and then 8 on the second shell, and then 2 on the outermost shell. And for calcium, we have 20. So, 2 on the innermost shell, 8 on the second shell, 8 on the third shell, and then lastly, we have 2 electrons on the outermost shell. That's 2 plus 8 plus 8, that's 18 plus 2, that's 20. So, mapapansin nyo, both of them contain 2 valence electrons. That's why they belong on group 2. Nuggets, nuggets. So, in summary, elements in the same group have the same number of valence electrons, and valence electron will help us predict how this element will react or combine with other atoms. Hence, elements on the same groups have similar chemical properties. That's all for today's video. Sana may natutunan kayo or na-clarify ako ng mga bagay-bagay. So please do like, comment, and subscribe for more videos. Thank you for watching. Bye!